So at this point, most people who know Rare Delicacies, usually the formula is one person pays it forward onto someone who has not. And it's worked pretty well so far. And we even did it with 3 people last time, with Boy and His Dog and Jabberwocky. This time we're trying something immensely different. Neither of us have seen the movie in question that we are going to watch today. And what is the movie we're watching today?
Fantastic Planet.
If neither of us have seen this, why do you have it?
Back in the 80s, when I had a Laserdisc player, yes, I really did.
You remember from Closet Land, he revealed he still has Laserdisc, so therefore automatically he is way cooler than us.
I discovered the Criterion Collection. Mm-hmm. Now, the Criterion Collection back then was known for doing groundbreaking stuff as having director's commentaries, remastering the film, things like deleted scenes, things like that. Stuff that you had seen other people do, but they were the first, I think, to codify it and do it consistently. When I transferred over to DVD, I kind of let that slip. And about a couple of years ago, I rediscovered Criterion and went, holy crap, what's this? Why did I forget about this? And started rebuilding my collection. Now, Barnes & Noble does a semi-annual sale of these where they're 50% off, which actually beats Amazon, believe it or not. I went to the local Barnes & Noble, the last one, and spent way too much money. And they didn't have one of the ones I wanted. And I saw this, and I said, well, it's animated. It's French. Criterion usually picks films I like. Mm-hmm. There are exceptions, but usually picks films I like. So I was like, okay, why not?
And the way we chose this one, you actually gave me your list of all the stuff you have on Criterion. And I looked up the trailers for each one, and I looked up this one. It didn't give anything away as far as what the story was, but it definitely laid out its credentials. This apparently won the Grand Prix at Cannes. I mean, I have no basis of comparison as far as how they judge all their movies, but I will say anything that usually wins over Cannes is usually something worth your attention.
I almost forgot there was one other thing. I thought it was French. Apparently, it was partially made in Czechoslovakia and partly in France. Mm-hmm. I'm not entirely sure what the story is behind it, but Czechoslovakia back then was behind the Iron Curtain, so I don't know. But the only other French animated film I've ever seen was, I believe it's called Gundahar, which I know, which was released here as Light Years, which, by the way, would be an excellent movie for
Rare Delicacies.
Oh yeah, it's great. But anyway, so yeah, I know very little about it other than it looks very, very surreal and it's French.
Yeah, that was my thing too. I was like looking at it. I think that was the impetus behind me picking. I was just like going, that one. And when you said you hadn't seen it, I was like, even better. This will be both of us jumping in blind. And honestly, I'm kind of eager because of the excitement of like neither of us are.
Yeah. It doesn't suck. I really hope it doesn't suck.
It's Criterion, so I think we're in safe hands. But then again, they did make Armageddon a...
We don't speak of that.
Well, if we don't speak of it, how do we know not to speak of it?
Fair.
Well, let's not focus on the Criterions we don't want to speak about. Let's focus on the Criterions we do. So, this is Fantastic Planet. Okay. Seeing as this is a different, where we have now officially watched it, I think now we can actually get into the synopsis of this movie as best we can.
Yeah, it's real surreal.
It is excruciatingly surreal, but it didn't lose me at any point where I was like, what? I think it was only one major plot hole, but we'll get into, or at least plot hole for me. You might have caught it. You might have caught it. But yes, it takes place on this distant planet. Forget the name of the planet. I don't think they really got into the name of the planet either. Or did they?
Maybe.
But it takes place on this planet where these giant blue creatures called drags, they have ohms, which is basically us, where they're domesticated, or if they're not, they're just, I guess you could say they're kind of the equivalent of dogs, cats, rats.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, who are wild, feral out there. For all intents and purposes, from their point of view, we're just vermin. And the main character, Terror, is a domesticated ohm, human, we'll just say humans from here on out,
Yes, thank you.
is a domesticated human who inadvertently ends up obtaining knowledge. As these things go, he winds up escaping and teaming up with a savage tribe and gradually building themselves up in order to inevitably have an insurrection. That's definitely as simple as we can make the story, because everything else about it is definitely not. I mean, it's very clearly allegorical, especially regarding attitudes that we've had towards, say, the Native Americans, or even just any other culture that we perceive as being more primitive compared to us. And the idea that we take them for granted and it's only a matter of time before they catch up and we run the risk of mutually assured destruction. Yeah. And then it's like, where do you go from there? I can't imagine us getting too spoilery on this one. And this is one of those ones where even if we did lay out the story for you, that's not the heart and soul of what makes this movie a necessary watch. It's about the presentation. It's about the artistry of it. At first, we were kind of ping-ponging as far as how it was done, because at first glance we thought it had a very Python-esque edge to it.
Yeah, I really felt like I was watching a extended Monty Python cutscene.
But then when you looked close to it, you scrutinized it, and because the animation was so fluid and so smooth, we thought then we abandoned that. We thought that this was entirely pencil drawn, like, say, The Snowman, the Christmas short, where everything was done entirely with pencil animation, and that is still impressive, because pencil animation is not even remotely as easy as cell drawn animation by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I used to take cinematography in high school, and I remember doing a flipbook animation, and that in itself was a long drawn out process, because if you ever watch even the simplest of animated series, even Beavis and Butthead, for example, if you look at Butthead's hair, all the lines that make up his hair changes with every frame, because whereas in this, I didn't have that problem. Or I was looking at it, I was scrutinizing every single one. It was like, yeah, they would have had to very finely match all those pen strokes. But then we researched it again after watching the movie and found out, oh no, it was cut. It was actually a combination of the two. It was cut out animation combined with pencil.
Yeah, it's the animation is fascinating and worth watching just for that, if nothing else.
Yeah, and when you take into account that this came out sometime in the early 73, no other animation studio around was even tackling that.
No.
At the time, this seemed like one of those cases where he did it where Rene Leloux, the director, felt this was just the right way to do it and the right way to present it. And to his credit, he is right. I can't imagine this being animated any other way.
Yeah, it's fascinating. But like I said, for nothing else, it's absolutely fascinating.
You said this was based on a book.
I know very little about it, other than it's based upon a French science fiction novel or short story. There were a lot of differences between the book and the movie. The big one being the whole meditation thing was really downplayed in the book. Mm-hmm. Or upplayed in the movie, depending on how you look at it.
And that surprises me, given the way this movie resolves and how the meditation was actually such a vital component to the resolution. You would have thought that the novel would have taken some time to build up why that's so important. Whereas here, I was like, wow, because I admit, the way they emphasize it in the movie, I was always intrigued about what is the general purpose of this meditation. They put so much emphasis on why it's such an important custom for the drags. Why are they doing this? And then when you get to the resolution, like, oh.
Yeah, because I just thought it was they're just unknowable. Because the whole movie, this movie spends a lot of time just going over stuff that, why did this happen? We don't know. Mm-hmm. We'll never know.
So that leads us to matching plot, to see if the same plot holes. It was indicated that the drags brought the Ohms, the humans, to this planet.
From Earth, yeah.
From Earth. Why?
Because they could.
It seems... yeah, exactly. It's like Captain Kirk climbing the mountain because it's there. Yeah. And it's like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, and I was also like with that... that's not that wasn't my problem, but I was also like... They're showing pictures of different things like books and buildings and stuff like that. I'm going, okay, wait a minute. These guys are like 20 feet tall. Humans are like this big to them. A book is going to be almost microscopic. Mm-hmm. Why in the world would they even notice that? A building? Okay, I get. Seeing the pyramids? Okay, I get.
Yeah, and even more fascinating, and actually kind of to build on that, it's clear that the drags were fully aware of the humans' capacity to learn and to build and all that. It's amazing to me that they never thought of the possibility that they could in time learn
Well,
and
ants build.
that is well, yeah, but to the level that we have.
Well, okay, I kind of got the impression because you saw collapsed ruins and stuff like that, that maybe there was a big war and we reverted.
That's okay. That is possible. That does make sense.
Also,
It seems like the drags have had us in this position for probably hundreds of years in all likelihood.
well, maybe not for very long. Well, 100 years by their time.
By their time, like that, you tend to take for granted what they're capable of as a species, and I really like the way they.
But enough ants could take down a human being if
Yeah.
they all really wanted to.
If they really want to, yeah. I remember there's a sequence in this movie where a whole bunch of them take down just one. And you were just like, oh, that's kicking a hornet's nest.
Yeah, because now, oh crap, they're dangerous.
Yeah.
We've now exterminate them permanently.
Yeah, because that would freak you out at the minute. Anytime someone that you took for granted all of a sudden surprises you and does something.
Yeah, there's biting the hand that feeds, and then there's killing one of us.
Yeah. So.
No, my plot issue was the drag's week is the equivalent of a human's year.
Mm-hmm.
And so the drag who grabs the main character, whose name I can't remember. Tara. Grabs him when he's very much a child.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about how he grew up and became a teenager, and Terry,
Terror,
you know, grew up at the same rate. And I was like, that doesn't really make sense to me.
Science fiction,
because he made a comment about it had been 15 years, and I'm going like, doesn't appear to have aged 15 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and here's something actually a lot of science fiction movies do actually not dwell upon is the idea of the progression of time pertaining to a solar system. Very seldomly I remember writing a Doctor Who script where I have them on a planet where an actual week is something like, or actually a day is like 48 hours. Okay. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that it has multiple suns and multiple moons. And yeah, it all comes down to the orbit. It comes down to the nature of the solar system and what it is and how it rotates and how you on that planet rotate. It leaves you to wonder, does time progress in a similar rate, or is time the same wherever you go? And actually, going into this movie, one thing I was very impressed with was how much detail there was in categorizing these units of measurement. It's not that they were expected you to get it or to know what they meant by it, but it was really cool that they took the time to create a unique colloquialisms for these particular units of measurement for this planet.
Yam is divided into several uvas. Two of the uvas, Strom and Yacht, are natural and symmetrical. Among the other uvas, Ortana is the largest. It is completely covered by blue asconic masses, which cause extreme temperature variations from 8 to 243 Lycas.
They actually gave you that this is their civilization, this is the way they measure distance and time, and I was very impressed with that amount of detail. That's I think the real champion of this entire movie is the detail in everything as far as the world building.
Yeah, there is definitely a level of logic in there that, granted, we'll never know and never see. Yeah. But yeah, they
But sometimes some dots are just not meant to be connected. They're just meant to be there. I mean, there's even some things like when Terre gets to the savage human. There's a whole sequence where you actually see their mating ritual. It doesn't really pertain to the plot at all. It doesn't really have any kind of major impact, but it's still something you're glad to see because it shows how they've survived. And even there's a whole oddly horrifying sequence where a flying creature, kind of like a flying anteater kind of thing, tries to bust into their tree, and you see them take it down. Then you realize this is just another thing they do to survive.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole movie's full of that. So many little weird things that we'll never understand.
As far as the science fiction piece goes, it does a lot of the beats, especially with science fiction films in the 1970s, definitely did, with, of course, allegories regarding class discrimination, racial discrimination, and, of course, also the fear of mutually assured destruction. as well. It hits all those
The
familiar.
Cold War.
Yeah, Cold War, which I think we're due for another one. Yeah.
I lived through the last one. It wasn't fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's what we need to remember. Oh yeah, this isn't supposed to be fun. The story doesn't do anything new as far as that's concerned. I think the major reason to watch this movie is just the execution. And I think it all goes back to what I've always said, because a lot of people always say, oh, it's so predictable, it's the same story. It's like, yeah, everything's the same story. What matters is the way if you tell it interestingly.
I agree.
That's why I defend movies like Avatar. I'm like, yes, it's Dance with Wolves. Yes, it's The Last Samurai. But the thing is, we remember Dance with Wolves, we remember Last Samurai, and we're definitely going to remember Avatar because they told the same story, but in its own interesting way.
Though I do wonder why Mech really needed a 8-foot-long combat knife. That bugged the hell out of me.
Because it looks awesome. Yeah,
Chainsaw! I couldn't get a chainsaw!
I think the reason I would tell people to watch this, and why it's definitely going to be put on the menu, I'd say this would be kind of like in the dessert category.
Yeah.
As in something that's definitely more of a feast for the eyes and definitely much more eye candy.
The animation's, I keep saying,
It's
but the
stellar.
animation's incredible. Watch it for nothing else for that.
Yeah, and I think I think it's what we'll definitely leave this on, is just the fact that the artistry is something to be applauded, and has been applauded. It's just one of those ones that kind of got swallowed up amongst other things that were being applauded, and add on to it, it's probably still fondly revered over in France, but here it's kind of a curiosity to us.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
Yeah, you just grabbed it, and I won't lie, the cover on the Blu-ray looks great. Yeah, have a look at that. That's pretty great. Yeah,
Watch it,
definitely on the menu, little dessert tray right next to it. So, see ya.
Take care.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so the drag that grabbed... Damn it. Thought we missed this.